Today's topic, with all that we've gone on, is a new series that we began. It's called Last Revival Preparation, or the final revival, because we are transiting into a revival that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor entered into the heart of man the things that God is about to do. And inside this, we talk about how we're beginning to prepare the healing services, miracle services. And I have added a few points of what we need to prepare. But today's topic is predestination. Everything happened because of predestination. And you hear me always talk about the 12, the 12, the 12. But I want you to know that all those among the 30 and the 70s and the 120s and the 10,000 pastors. See, we got 10,000 angels here under our COG Archangel. They have been assigned, and none of the angels have been in any church before. They're all freshly sent. When you think God prepared the angels, don't you think God prepared the pastors to pastor the churches? All the 10,000 pastors, all the 10 million fivefold ministers who are going to be part of this move. In heaven, before I came, I chose everyone. We didn't just choose the 12. Choose every one of them. See, how many people were specially assigned to this end time movement? Millions. And their spirits were told to be born in this end time. So understand, you were predestined. Unfortunately, some have made the choice. They know if they didn't come into this move, they will live and die without fulfilling their predestination. And there are some among the second generation, some among the first generation who are supposed to be here with us, have already lost their destiny. It is all predestination. Now, what do I mean? This means if they have one chance to come in, and the chances used to be that much, the gate is narrowing. In other words, you have to make a choice faster. Before you go, you can take your time to choose. But the time to choose is getting narrower because God is moving so fast. And you don't make the choice, another replaces you very fast. Before someone replaces you, it might take time. But because of the speed that God is moving in this revival, things are moving fast. So, because there's so many, let me zoom into the 30. I will talk about the 12 afterwards. Among the 30, where was the page that I have? In 2013, while we were in Ayers Rock, 2013, while we were in Ayers Rock, let me get a portion of the Ayers Rock. Oh, here it is. This is finished. Yeah. While we were in Ayers Rock, I met with Uriah for the first time, and I met with Surah Ma'al. A very strange thing happened, because on the first night that we were there and we prayed, and then we all stayed separate places. Uriah, let me see what time he visited. Yeah, Uriah visited me at 2:22 a.m. And then, I know because he woke me up. And then he visited the other minister who is no more with us. And then he revealed some things to me, he revealed some things to him. Then at 4:18 a.m., Surah Ma'al visited me And then a few minutes later, he visited the other minister. And the next morning, of course, he revealed something to me too. So then after Surah Mael left, yes, okay, then Archangel Uriel, who has been with us, revealed this. He said about me and the other minister. Now the other minister was supposed to be among my 30. He's no more with us. He was the one God used to deliver the 7 thunders prophecy on the 14th of November. He has dropped out when he tried to take over the church on September 23rd, and I resisted him because he was out online. And on the 27th of March, Angel Uriel says that if he had reached his fullness and I reached my fullness, we will be like twins and able to communicate trans-spirit without physical barriers. He's not among the 12, he's among the 30. And the 12, they can communicate with me that way. Some of them are communicating this way now with me. They are really entering to it. They are not in fullness yet, and they are quite good at communicating. And the reason is, after I read to you what happened in New Heaven and New Earth, recent thing, and some of the visions that Sam saw, that Aaron saw, is because before coming here, something was put into them so that when they come to the earth, we can communicate in the spirit, can see each other in the spirit. Now, the reason why the 12 see that only the 12, like I say, you can only see what you're allowed to see. You can only know what you're allowed to know. And the reason why I can see more is because I'm supposed to supervise more people. So what I see will be not just for the 12, will be for myself, for the 12, for all the 120, for the whole church. So I tend to see the bigger picture. And so when one of them sees something, they see it's only themselves. And everything else is blocked out. But actually, when they share with me vision, I say, okay, actually this is not just for you, this is for this group and this group. So I interpret for them. Which is why I'm not allowed them to interpret yet. Why? Because I wait till every single one of them realize that there's 2 parts in spiritual growth. One part is for yourself. See, all of us in a way are spiritually very greedy. You want something spiritual for yourself, which is natural, which is okay. But after some time you grow, you realize that what you actually want and who you are is expressed by who you live for. Jesus is not Jesus if he didn't die for all of us. Jesus gave his life for us. So the other part of spiritual growth is to realize, what is the use of the gift of healing? You got no one to heal. What is the use of authority to administrate? You got no one to administrate. The other part of growth is to realize, true service is to die to self and live for others. Okay, let me explain here. God never lived for himself. He's the creator. He's the I am, but he made us and gave us so that we can be free. He enjoyed giving himself to us. His love is unconditional. So the other part of spiritual growth is to understand that every ministry was supposed to die to themselves for others. That's why Jesus in the Bible, he told his disciples, remember when they were fighting for position on the right hand and left hand of God? Remember what Jesus says? Can you be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with? And he's not talking about baptism in spirit or baptism in water. He's talking about baptism of dying to self and suffering. And they confidently said, yes, we can. Same way like Peter, when Jesus said, all of you will be scattered and will go away. Peter says in the Gospel of Luke, everyone will fail. I will die for you. And then Jesus said, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me thrice. Say easy. when it comes to actually under threat of life, he denied Jesus because he's afraid they'll kill him. Say easy, doing is different thing. True ministry is to be like God in Jesus. To die on the cross that others might live. That is where you find your ministry. So that's why I'm nurturing. You know, all babies and children are supposed to be selfish. They only want milk. Mom! Mom! When they're hungry, somebody wiped them, somebody fed them, somebody carried them. Right? Naturally, the attention is yourself. But as the baby grew up, the baby realized the world doesn't revolve around you. The world revolves around God. You're one dot in the whole thing. And the other part of ministry, when we are children and we're growing, we want to grow, we want things for ourselves, but then you realize that even if you find yourself, you haven't found yourself. You find yourself when you find your ability to give your life that others may live. And you know why all the downloads and all this I need to go through? Because the downloads generally are good. But most downloads you can only see yourself, you cannot see others. Until the day your downloads you can see for the sake of others. Imagining, wanting to see downloads for others. Then you become more Christ-like. So, the reason why the 12 can only see the 12 is because they are still growing to be the 12. And the reason why the 12 cannot see the 30 is because it's for the 30 to see themselves. But none of the 30 has got a download yet. So tonight I need to let you know that every one of you were chosen. You were sent ahead. And I remember from my encounter in heaven with some of you, you were all given different gifts before you came. Families were chosen for you, and something draw you to this ministry. And something in you know that if you were not a part of us, you would never fulfill your destiny. There are at least 5 people I know who used to be with the ministry that I can guarantee you till the day they die, they will never have a chance to serve the Lord anyway, because that was supposed to be their destiny. And nobody will be giving them a room in the ministry. They will live and die, hopefully, a good Christian. But when they go to heaven, they discover they were supposed to be together. And so the 30 were also chosen, and they were given the ability to link with me in the same way. But most of us have forgotten our life in heaven. We only remember our life on earth. I have known some of you, if you want to count time, for 10,000 years or more. But out of your short early life of 40, 50, 60, my oldest disciple, 70 years, it took time, and you only remember your life here. He glimpses something in you, tells you there's more to it. And I'll talk about how what we are doing now is preparing for new heaven and new earth. After I talk about the vision of new heaven, remember the glories of the age to come. Well, we're going to talk about that also. What I'm going to emphasize tonight is predestination. That you were predestined. Now I'm going to read some of the things about the 12 that I want you to know apply to the 30, the 70s, the 120s, the 10,000 fastest, and the 10 million fivefold. Do you think that when God, you see, the most important part in any human being is the spinal cord structure. Do you think God would take a chance on the spinal cord of COG? Everyone is chosen. All the top-rung leaders that are the spinal cord of the empire of the nation of COG. 6 billion are not by chance. Because around the spinal cord, the whole body develops. So as I read some of these things about the 12, it applies to you. These are some of the visions of the 12 that were predestined before they came here. This part is from Sam. Sam, you saw a lot of that. It says, I also recall before we were sent down, this is way back in September last year, that before our predestination on earth, that we were drawn by the Spirit to be a team to come down during the end time. Each one still has the choice to follow or not, to decide when to come to earth with him or not. Him is me. Afterwards, I also realized that although once we are raptured and complete our mission on earth, the pastor said we start on a clean slate in the millennium, and don't know how much our role and purpose there was. It struck me clearly that on the earth dimension there is a predestination role on earth. Likewise, there's a predestination in the millennium and in the new heaven and the new earth. The difference is that what is revealed in this dimension is revealed only partially, right? Here's another part. September 29, 2014. During evening prayer in the Spirit, Pastor came and I saw him standing in front of my bed. He was glowing, sparkling like a diamond. Something stood up from him and it was a pen in the location of his left upper pocket. Like if he had a shirt, it would be there. Suddenly it flashed before my eyes that Pastor Johann was a scribe who wrote down what God says, and some of the books and archives in heaven are written by him. Even the lambs of God in Revelations are written by him. Actually not by me, it's by Jesus I record down. Right? But he understood my part in it. The reason I read this part is recently Arion also got downloads. Something like that. So you got 2 or 3 witnesses. And I just want you to know that when you are here, part of this move, how important you are. That every one of you are chosen. And then he said that's why all the books and archives are in his home, and he's the caretaker of the library. He even wrote the book on the millennium and knows what will happen in our roles there. Remember, I sometimes tease you, I say, I know all your books. I read your books. I'm not bluffing. I have read. So, and I know your destinies. And then it says that's why he's coming back in the millennium to ensure we fulfill our roles. That's why during my predestination, I knew it was hidden from most people behind the scene. Now there was one part that is hidden from most people, including one of my angels here, whose name is Tukasurel. He is from the part that even the other minister who had open vision, when I asked him, I said, where does this angel come from? Even he says, who is from a section of heaven that was reserved, and they have only come for the end times to reveal Christ. I know what the section is, but I wanted to test him whether he knows. Not the normal angels. Normal angels, you see, are like Uriel, and you have Michael, Gabriel, all those things. There's a special group of angels that came from that section. Now, this angel had worked with me before in the area, before we came down to the planet Earth. I know some of these things sounds fantastic, but wait till you see the signs and wonders bear witness, and you say that you cannot believe me, believe because you see the works. I would love to tell you that, but the days are coming, and then you know that this is no ordinary thing we're talking about. That's why God is doing extraordinary things. And so you have the advantage in that you could see the transition. See, the transition is what you'll get to see. Because some of those, by the time they meet us, we are already at this stage. At this stage, it's impossible to know me as a person. Because all they see is that. Oh, and by the way, you know how busy we'll be? I mean, remember, we will find a system by which I've been preaching here every Sunday, every Thursday, and from time to time Friday, since you're all okay with Friday, and also in Sydney. And so you can imagine how every day is actually dedicated to the Lord. And we have many churches that we're doing that. Sometimes we'll delay broadcast the same thing, preach at the same time, and some show it start later. But I will see what's happening, and the Lord will show in future time. Now, some of those times, the Lord will be transporting me. So maybe on a Sunday, you all got ready, you say, oh, first service, video session live. Then, boom, I come out from behind the curtain. And then after I disappear, boom, I go down behind the curtain. So you all check behind the curtain. See whether there's a secret door or something. Or like Doctor Who's thing, kind of thing. No, there's nothing like that. You know, they say, why curtain? Well, if he doesn't want people to, see the transportation itself or the appearance of thin air. Because if you appear of thin air, people not ready. Some of them might faint, heart attack, die. Then you have to resurrect them for the day. But then some of them like heaven so much don't want to come back. So that's the problem for us then. So there's this area here on the Revelation of 12. Basically to understand the mission that we all have. Now let's see. Oh, the 144,000. In heaven we are also involved with them. And on earth we are involved with them. From this year 2015 until 2029 they are being born. All the 144,000 will be born within these 14 years. We are not living in normal times. And some of them will need us to cultivate and help them to be strengthened. And so the angel that is over them, 144,000, there will be one rabbi. The rabbi, how old is he now? He was 12 years old about 2013. So he would be about 13 years. He has a 12-year cycle. The rabbi who is going to gather these 144,000 is already a young boy of 13 years old. He has an archangel sent to him. And Enoch will reveal himself to this boy in the cycle of 12 years. The angel over him is Raguel, and so he can pray and strengthen the angel. So there is 144,000. They are also specially chosen. And here Sam saw them too. I saw the angels preparing the places where they will live and the environment and family. Then he also saw the 12 and the team that is coming. The Lord was ordaining him to go to earth. That was me. He selected a mixed type of people of different talents, abilities that he trained, but not all those he trained. In the spirit, it sounds close to the Lord. That's the part there. So he saw this part here. There were 12 of them, and they were sitting in a circle with Pastor in the middle and we were talking. And that was among the last instructions that before they came here. Each one looked fully matured. At that time, we all don't look like what we look. Because if we never came to earth, we won't take this human look. We all look like angels. We have no physical human faces. So when we came and born on earth, then we took some nature of the human race. And there were 12 sitting in a circle, and each one looked mature. There was a table with balls of glory. These are the impartations we'll be receiving progressive over our lifetime until we are full. Now these apply to the 12. Now you know it applies to the 30. It applies also to the 120 and the 70s and all the 10,000s. At the end of the meeting, we prayed. Pastor laid hands on each one, and Pastor said, "Believe, believe, believe." A lot is expected from you as you have a heart full of courage. And let's say this one. Okay, And so these are all there. A lot of things about 12, interesting things about 12, and pointing at 12, having the same love. Okay, that's it on the 12. I think that's. But there was the 120 and the 30. The 30 was a different meeting, which so far none of the 30 have seen the predestination meeting. In the sending out of the 30, Jesus was also present. And Jesus blessed each one of you, and before you all came to the earth, and all the 70s, and in fact, you all together as a church, the whole group, as a church, some of the 12 also haven't picked it up yet. The whole group as a church had some instructions with the angels, and you were introduced to your angels, and you worked with your angels before, and all of you came at different times to watch the people in the Bible. Now, to prove it in the revelations that come so far, do you know why when the first time the revelation came, which was September 2011, September 18, my birthday, and when Archangel Uriel came, 2011, because we went to the 7 churches in 2012, was it? Yeah. Not our secret trip, the first time the 7 churches. Or when I say we went, I mean my spirit went. Yeah. It was 2011. And because I know that the 7 thunders prophecy was 2012, 14 here. So it was exactly a year before. And so when the Archangel Uriel came and introduced himself, why do you think he chose the name Shammah? Remember, angels can see the future, and they give you a clue. You know why? Of the 30 mighty men, the 3 mighty men with David, Shammah, Eliezer, Jeshobin. He took it from the 30 mighty men. And do you know what he was trying to tell the other minister? The one that tried to take over this church in September? He's trying to say, you are only one of the mighty men. He is not among the 12. But we can only see what we can see, which is why, in a way, this message is also a warning for the future. When you have a download, never assume that you are it. When you assume that you're it without Jesus appointing you, you're in trouble. When you cannot see your place spiritually and you put yourself, that's why Paul says in Romans chapter 12, don't think too highly of yourself. Only think as God has placed you, both spiritually and naturally. You must know where your position is. And accept where the position is, because that is where God made you, placed you to be. And so when he began to vie for a position spiritually, that was never meant for him, because all these are predestined. We don't change things that God has already predetermined. You can only add to them. You can never subtract them unless, of course, you disobey God. So it's important. You can never put over someone what is not yours, because God never gave it to you. So from the beginning of this move, God was already giving the message. You are only the 30 mighty men. God was already giving the message, but he never got the message. Put yourself above, and that was it. So same with the 12. Do not think of yourself as above the other. Remember, your place is with the 12. That's it. Your place is with the 30, with the 70. Now if anyone fails, then God is the one who promotes. not man. God is the one who promotes. And same with some of the 30 mighty, by men I mean women too, but some of the 30 mighty men and women have fallen. God is going to raise some of the 70s up, and some of those down the line up into the 70s. So God is continuing to raise, but people have not found their destiny. Now, what was the other thing I wanted to mention about the part? When on the 30th of March God was giving things, God was actually looking into your hearts, looking to see how much He can give into each one of you. And but for some of you, you still wrestle with doubts. Some of you, you wrestle with paying a price. Some of you, you wrestle with worldliness. Some of you, you wrestle with your old habits. And you can only receive what you can. But please, you still have a very short grace period. How short? Between now to the end of this year. To enter into something else that you could enter. Say, what am I talking about? Okay. What is the window for Elisha to ask for double portion? How big was the gap? It was only measured by a few days, correct? If those few days that Elijah said he was going home, to the time that he was taken, in those few days was his only chance to get double portion. Do you realize that? If he don't get it, he don't get it the rest of his life. Small window. Very small window. So the window between now, by the time, some of you say here, and here's where you do a bit of teaching, some of you say here, okay, when you look at each other, look at one another, and look at all the things people will know, what this person God can use? How? We are not ready. Okay. We're talking about Bible, so I just go to Bible. If you have seen Peter and the disciples before Pentecost, you would have said Jesus has a terrible fail rate of 100%. How many of his disciples were around when Jesus was being betrayed? John was the one who stayed closest to him. But it was not the destiny of John to be number one. It was his destiny to be number two. But when Peter started going different way, look, John lived until everyone died and he became number one apostle to receive the 7 thunders. And of all the apostles, you go back in history and read, you can see who walked closest with Jesus. See, whatever position God gives you doesn't change the fact you still can walk closest with Jesus. John didn't say, why should he choose Peter? He was contentedly following Peter. He always said Peter and John, Peter and John, Peter and John. Do you notice that in the book of Acts? If you had seen Peter about, the crucifixion was about 50 odd days before the thing. If you had seen Peter 1.5 months before Pentecost, you will shake your head like that. How can God use this man? He just denied Jesus 3 times. Yet 1.5 months later, when more of the Spirit came upon him, including that Spirit born again, can you recognize the same Peter in Acts chapter 2, Acts chapter 3, Acts chapter 4, Acts chapter 5? Now he might have a few rubbings with Paul, but when Peter died, he was martyred, and he says, I'm not worthy to be crucified even. And he was crucified upside down. What changed him? More Spirit. when there is more energy and spirit that is coming forth from the altar building, each time we're going to receive another measure, it's reached a stage where that spirit will not change you. So that people cannot recognize you. Now in this series I'll talk about how to retain and absorb the anointing. So don't despair. Didn't we teach always that it's not you changing yourself, God changing you? Now when more energy comes, you will be changed even more. You'll be transformed even more. And one of the things people praying is transfiguration. I say that this year transfiguration will take place. Am I allowed? Yes. September. But some of you might say, oh Lord, I want to be transfigured too, I want to be transfigured too. There is a price of the transfiguration. Moses came and talked to Aaron about transfiguration. He said, Aaron, because Aaron also want to ask for transfiguration. I know I will be, I'm prepared to change and do whatever God wants. But he said, Aaron, he says, he wants to be transfigured, Aaron. And Moses came and talked to him. He says, when you're transfigured, your appetites will change. Your desires will change. And after that, even your loved ones might not understand you. So it's almost like saying, you're still willing. Like for example, okay, let me put it in a very rough way for you. If the transfiguration, after transfiguration, you love durians, okay. If after transfiguration you hate durian, will you say, transfigure me, transfigure me, transfigure me? Then some of you might say, and the Lord says, well, after transfiguration you will never eat another durian because you hate the taste. Oh, not me, him. That's an illustration. It might change some of your appetites. Of course, some of you are really on and you say, yes, no more! Give up durian. No, I won't. What happens if after transfiguration you don't enjoy all your chicken rice, steak, wonton noodle, Penang fried kway teow? You say, what? Then what do I love? You just eat plain bread. Anyway, so there is a price. It does changes you. So remember that more energy changes you. I bring that as an illustration to say, every one of you have hope. Don't see you as you are, but understand, when the Spirit comes, you will know what to do. When the Spirit comes, you will transform. And it will change you into somebody else that you always wanted to be. More Christ-like. Because it's just more of Christ. This is just more of Christ, less of us. In fact, all of Christ, none of us is the best in. Now, this move is predestined. And everyone who is part of this move in any leadership, the backbone of COG's empire of nations is about nearly altogether about 20 over million people governing over the 6 billion. Because they are sub leaders. The backbone are all predestined. No chances taken. And so understand that we have known each other. If you are a leader here, we have known each other for tens of thousands of years. Except you have amnesia after you came to the planet Earth. In this move, you're allowed to remember some things. And the young ones are picking it fast because, you know, they just move on into God. But even then, some areas still need to be sharpened. but it's important that we all find our place in predestination. I read a few scriptures, then I talk about the new heaven, new earth, and the glory to come, which is part of this preparation. I always want to emphasize on some of the scriptures here. In Jeremiah chapter 1, Jeremiah chapter 1. Now, of course, on this, in heaven before you came, you have free choice. You could have chose not to come as a human. Then you say, then why, if we already got so good positions in heaven, why did we come? We came because Jesus came. We wanted to be close to Him. If Jesus came and you didn't come, you would be just like one of the angels. But you wanted to be closer, so you came. And that's why we came, to continue to be close with Jesus. In Jeremiah chapter 1, God says in verse 4 and 5, then the word of the Lord came to me saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you, or set you apart, or ordained you a prophet to the nations. Now you know that there are some things God don't take chances. When He predict that Cyrus will bring God's people back to the restoration years, He was taking no chances. He will very specially arrange for the angels to do that. He even named Cyrus before Cyrus existed, which is surprising for many because Cyrus was not even born yet. And some people who look at the book of Isaiah when Cyrus' name was mentioned, among scholars, because I've been to Bible school, and when you learn the book of Isaiah, they try to chop the book of Isaiah into different parts. They call it Deuto Isaiah or Trito Isaiah, where they say Isaiah is actually written by 3 different people instead of one prophet. Of course, they all just don't believe the Bible. It's just one person. But because it's so fantastic, his predictions, that they say cannot be one person, must be 3 persons there. And they do it because of their unbelief. So don't go to Bible school where their professors call unbelief. They come up with unbelief. And so that's why sometimes people ask me, any good Bible schools to go? I was very quiet. Because almost none. And so it's important for us to know that belief and faith is important. Anyway, this is why predestination is important. Jeremiah also stood at a very important place. Jeremiah was the last of the prophets before the temple was destroyed. And then he has to prophesy about the return that's coming. And so he filled that gap. Now, at an important time, wasn't John the Baptist predestined? John the Baptist was predestined. Now, Elijah would have been predestined. There's a prophecy of Elijah coming back. There's a predestined life. That is why in important epochs of human history, there has to be a very strong predestination. Not just free choice, predestination. And we are in that period where you must understand you all are predestined. How predestined are you? Especially if you're born at this time of the glorious church. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 1. Ephesians chapter 1. In Ephesians chapter 1, it says in verse 5, having predestined us to adoption as sons by Jesus Christ to Himself, according to the good pleasure of His will. Paul wrote that by revelation. Now we know that every Christian is predestined to be part of the glorious church. But they are going to be part of the glorious church after they die. You, including the first generation, is going to be part of the glorious church now while you're still alive. Can you imagine how much predestination is in your life? You were specially chosen to be part of the glorious church. My choice was within the framework of the backbone. Jesus chose every single member. He knows the exact number of people. He knows the exact name of everyone. He gave nothing to chance to be part of the glorious church. Every single one member of the glorious church targeted by predestination. No accident. Of course, even after predestination, we can choose to respond. Some people don't choose to respond. Some begin to believe that their life on earth is the only life they have, so they never enter into the other life. So this is the part. You can see all the papers on this side, like this little bit, and this one is just a prayer list, so we are finishing. It's the last part. Now, this last part, I have been to the Garden of Eden in visions. I've been to New Heavens, and Sam too has been to New Heavens, but you saw a different section of New Heaven. And so, you remember the part where I share about the new age to come coming? This is part 2 review. Okay, this one is from Arion, and he downloaded it on 22nd of April. What day is today? 25th already, yeah. Because we passed midnight. Last night was 24th. Okay, so this is 2 or 3 days old. So it's fresh from the oven. Okay. And it says, I was writing the first vision down and listening. And then in the spirit, on the video that was released, end time thing. Then I had another vision I entered into. I saw an entrance in what looked like a garden. It reminded me of the other day when I had flash about the Garden of Eden. And that day, there was another download he sent me. He saw, but he couldn't go in because it was not time yet. It was not time yet. Now, the Lord is very good when He gives vision, because He's about to reveal to Arion the new glory. So He took him back to the garden to show him the former glory before the fall. Then only He took him to see the new glory. See, even visions and what you download all got an order one, in which God revealed. And let me show the other one. Remember the other minister who had the Old Testament panorama, then the New Testament panorama. And in the Old Testament panorama, and we wonder why that was, we're talking about 3 years ago. Why was it starting at Noah and not Adam and Eve? We had that on our blog. You notice we start with Noah. We didn't start with Adam and Eve, but the Bible started with Adam and Eve. You know why? Because it is from Noah's time. It is from Noah's time that different things progressed. But there was something that was hidden. And then the vision of Adam and Eve only came during the time around the time of December 2012. And when the vision of Adam and Eve came, then he saw something. He saw the guardian angel. The guardian angel of Adam and Eve was Melchizedek. If he had seen that first, he would have recognized. When you look at the Noah story, then to Abraham, you will immediately recognize Melchizedek, because you saw that one. But you shoot this part, then he has the what I call the sequel, then the prequel. It is just like some of you saw Star Wars, correct? But in Star Wars, the shocking part in the Star Wars was when Luke Skywalker found out that Darth Vader was his father. That was the shocking part. So after all the fighting, and then, you know, at the middle section, and he fight with Darth Vader, Darth Vader says, "I am your father." Ah! You know, with his hand chopped off. Ah! And he fell down or whatever. So, if you have the story from the beginning, you knew he was the father anyway. Then they have the beginning part to show how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader, and that Luke Skywalker was actually one of the twin children with Princess Leia. And if you have seen the first part, then there's no surprise anymore. So the same way, God sometimes know how to show the movies too. And he showed from Noah first, and then when he saw Melchizedek, I keep asking, this is Melchizedek, right? Melchizedek. Okay, I say all these things. And then in the end, when you go back and see Adam and Eve, you say, that's Melchizedek. See? And so that's why sometimes God show different things. Now in this vision, God showed the glory before the fall, because He want to see the glory after this planet, the new glory. So here is Him going to the Garden of Eden. And the entrance had this gate. It looked like solid white stone substance. I looked at one of the pillars of the gate on my left side. It had a ball on the top, and then it's a square-shaped long piece that was on it. I then began to walk toward it. I noticed how I was accompanied by Archangel Uriel. Uriel has been around in the Bible for a long time. I tried to look more at his detail, but my soul kept projecting things that I knew was not right. And Uriel says, just enjoy. Don't try to make up the detail, and see what you can see. So I said, yes, sorry. Not bad, this vision of all these things. Then as we go to the gate, it looked like a ladder form, but it was like steps, like stairs. And I saw this stairs ladder begin to expand. Actually, what it's like is like, I've been to that part, I saw it too. It's like a ladder, but it doesn't have anything at the side. But the ladder formed like steps. So it's like a magic carpet kind of thing that come out like a ladder. So there was something like that. And then it expanded. I realized there was a distance, and as we were in between, it's like the stairs grew, and I saw the real geographical distance, except it wasn't really affected by the distance. It reminded me of Jacob's ladder. It was something like that. As we were going into this garden, I looked back where I was coming from, the throne room down to the earth to this garden. Along the way, I saw Enoch, and I said, hi Enoch, and Enoch said, hi. Then I saw what I believe was Elijah, but we were all going to the earth with Uriel by my side. I then saw this massive big tree on my way down. It looked like the rainforest canopy, but there was no darkness. I realized I saw gray and dark, not because it was there, but because my vision was limited. Almost like when you get your eyes dilated and you're trying to focus, just like Pastor Johann, you said, I can only see what I can see. As we got to the earth, Uriel said, this is the Garden of Eden before Adam and Eve fell. This was interesting because it confirmed what my inner vision was telling me. Uriel and I began to walk in the garden. I saw the trees, it was amazing, so big, and the life in everything was a dimension that made everything vibrant like heaven. I then saw these big water gushes coming out of the earth, shoot into the sky, and the mist was watering everything. I saw a lot of this go off. I mean the water streams were hundreds of feet high. As we were walking on this path, I saw a massive grape. It was the size of my hand. I knew this because I reached out and grabbed it, and I held it in my hand, almost like the size of an apple. I then came into more focus and saw the massive grape clusters. As I held this grape and looked at it, it had a light quality coming out of it, and at the same time a sound tone emanating from it. As I held it, it's like I became one with this tone and light. And when I let it go, it stopped. It was a pretty cool sensation and experience. I was like, wow, that was just a grape. This is Garden of Eden. So you can imagine just one fruit like that. Can you imagine how much time you can spend there? There's so many trees there. We then began walking, and at this point I was only aware of Uriel now. It was like he was showing me around in the garden. As I was looking, I saw the grass, it was so green, yet emitting a light and a sound. It seemed the whole fabric of everything was emanating this light and sound in a wonderful harmony. I then saw from a sky view briefly, I saw 4 rivers. But the rivers like were coming down, not from the bottom, but coming up from heaven. And I saw the 4 rivers mentioned in Genesis. It seemed like it all came from one river, from the throne of God. And I saw this dimension open on the earth, and it seemed like heaven was one with the earth as this opening. The river of life flowed from this opening and broke into these 4 rivers, and then through the garden on the earth, and it flowed into the rest of the earth, which is correct. I was so amazed, but only saw a little of this from afar. But then from afar I heard the living creatures crying, "Holy, holy, holy," by the throne. And it seemed like the worship that came from the throne room emanated to the rest of all creation. See, this is his vision he has on 22nd April. You all remember the series we teach about heaven? Do you remember I talked about the worship planet and all those things? Where do you think I got those teachings from? I saw it. But I show it from the Bible. And remember I said all the life of the universe come from their worship. So it's in a full teaching on this section that when the 4 creatures says holy, 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 their worship produce a vibration. And every time, remember they say holy, holy, and then all the 24 elders bow down. Then after that they're up again, then they bow down. So this produce waves. So these waves were like the wave of God's light that flow from heaven to the whole universe. That was life. No wonder if you have truly got life, you are automatic worshipper. Because the essence of life came from worship. The worship at the throne. So the next time you see holy, 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 they are actually releasing life from God. That is in a full sermon that I really preach. So sometimes I don't describe the vision, I rather teach from the vision. But you wouldn't know it. You say, where did this man get this understanding from? From the vision, then you study the Bible. Then from the Bible you come up with doctrine and understanding, which is in line with God, the truth, the Bible, and all these things. And so now you know where a lot of the teachings are coming from. They're from vision. Except that I didn't describe it as a vision, because if I stay in the vision, it doesn't help you. You just say, whoa, that's all. But if I teach it from the Bible, you say, that's it! I got to practice the word, I got to worship. That's the purpose of teaching. Then it become absorbed by you. So anyway, on the 22nd of April, he saw it himself. And he saw that this worship of the 4 creatures was producing life. It seemed like worship came from the throne room, emanated to the rest of all creation. The sound and light came and brought a tune to the fabric of everything. Everything was in tune with this worship from the throne. It is like all creation and beings were responding back with harmony, in tune, and the worship. Even the wind seemed to flow with this worship. It was like I was in symphony with sound and peace and love and joy, and it all came from the throne. So every blade of grass, every tree was vibrating with the worship of the Holy of Holies. That's perfection. I then started to look around, and what I could see of a tree and the ground next to it was that it all interlinked in tune, and it had light emanating from it. As we continued to walk, I then came up and I saw this squirrel. For Adrian, it saw squirrels. Okay. It was more well-fed and rounded than the squirrels I normally see. Actually, it's not fat. It's just big size. They're actually very big. All the creatures are very big. Interestingly, I don't like squirrels. Because they always cause problems and damage things. Then the squirrel said, then that is why God made him see the squirrel. Inner healing taking place also. And anyway, the squirrel said, "Hello, how are you?" I was shocked. And I just replied, "Good." Then he ran away. I turned to Uri and said, "The squirrel just talked to me." Uri said, "Yes, it did. Don't you remember Balaam's donkey talk?" I said, "Yes." And thought, but that was not normal. And Uri says, "Before the fall, the animals talk." I was pondering this and just enjoying it, all amazed. As we continued to walk, I came to this open field. And I saw this lion. It was very big. And he was on this slant where the path goes up to the field, and he was lying down. I wanted to touch the lion. I had no fear, so I went up and just patted the lion. I felt his mane. It was so amazing. The feeling was so soft. The fur of this lion was perfect and soft. Aaron, wait till you meet my dog. Anyway, and so when you touch my dog, got electricity. Anyway, the fur of this lion was perfect and soft, and this peaceful heat came from him. I touched this lion and I was like amazed. The lion turned his head and looked back at me, facing me face to face as I was touching him, and said, "God is good." So some of you might reply, "All the time." Thank you very much. Okay, then you start talking to the lion. Anyway, the lion then returned back to how he was and started to eat grass on the ground that he was lying. The lion seemed to be resting and going over how God is good. I mean, like he was in the thought. The lion was thinking, God is good. Eating the grass. God is good. You know. Some of you there, you might be singing a song with him. God is so good. So here's a lion scene that we thought interesting. I then was prompted to get up, and I saw a little further away a cow or an ox that looked like a red cow. It was eating grass too. We kept walking, then I saw all these different animals. It looked like birds, deer, antelope, maybe zebra types, and so many. And they were just going about, some in groups, and they all seemed to have song or chorus about them as they were moving about in groups. Everything had a song in it, so to say, and was receiving and giving a tune interchangeably with the worship from the throne. We then came to a place, and I saw Eve next to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I saw the serpent with them, and Adam. Adam and Eve had this light coming from them, and it seemed a glory about them. Then Uriel either said or thought to me, "Watch what happens." Then they ate the fruit, and it's like the fabric of everything ripped. Sound effect is mine. And the song was taken away. And this horrible silence came. Then the colors of everything changed. I press the pause button there. What happened when you're filled with the Spirit? Ephesians 5:18-19. Speaking in psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. Making melody. Restoration. See, the song in your heart actually beat with the same heartbeat as the Holy, Holy, Holy. So afterward, when you pray, listen to that song. And it will give you energy and power. When you're filled with the Word, Colossians 3:16, what happened to you? Psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. Same thing. It will bring the same harmony from heaven. Now here's a clue. If your spirit could be so strong as to capture the tune that comes on the throne room, your soul will vibrate with it, your body will vibrate with it, and your body will never be sick. and your soul will never be sick. And if you vibrate long enough in that tune, your body will never grow old. Perfection of perfection. Sin nature is cancelled. By what? Romans 8, by the Spirit. What is the Spirit? The Spirit is a song. If that song could vibrate, you get some restoration to their glory. Okay, let's pause for teaching. Let's play. Continue. Then the colors of everything changed. It's like I could feel death and darkness came in. The light that was there changed or diminished it. It was not the same anymore. Like heaven and God element that I feel when heaven disappeared from the earth. I could no longer see heaven from the earth. It's like the dimension of colors changed and limited and much was removed. The harmony was gone. The song was gone. It's like the flow was cut off. It was very horrible to feel such wonderful things and then turn into this. It was then like it feels like the earth now. And it says, yuck. It's like, yuck. It's a horrible transition from perfection to this darkness. Almost like it smelled bad too. I mean, the fragrance of peace, love, joy was gone. This darkness came and disunity of things. I thought, no wonder creation grows. I then saw Satan in darkness. But he had keys of death and hell, and authority was given to him. That was just seconds before it was with Adam. That suddenly it's all in Satan's hands. I don't know how to explain it. But in the shift and the tear of the fabric, it is like the substance of DNA that the enemy had was over and inside all things. The tear was everywhere. When before it was Adam, and now the devil's DNA also affected Adam. I really don't know how to explain it because I don't know what it really would be described as in words. And the whole earth was impacted by it. Then Uriel took me to the earth in the millennium. I saw how the enemy had turned the whole earth into this volcanic ash, desert and lava thing. Remember I described the last 3 years of tribulation? The whole earth was like mercury. It was like lava. No green, not a single green plant in the tribulation. That's why Christians who talk about going to tribulation, they don't know what tribulation is like. They haven't seen visions of the tribulation. I have. It's not for humans. The second half, no humans can live. How about those people living? They live by the energy of the devil. Directly from the evil spirit. And it was such a wasteland. And I saw it in the millennium being restored and turned back when Jesus came. Then Uriel says, you will help the Lord and Pastor Johann bring restoration back to the earth. I was like, wow, how? Then he said, don't worry about that, but that is what you'll be helping to do in the time of the millennium. You will help to bring restoration back to the earth. I then saw the vegetation come back, and then Uriel said, that is why you were shown the lion eating grass. You will help restore things back to how they were before the fall. The earth will be restored back and the cleansing will come, and when Jesus returns, it will be turned back. It was like the impression I got was that the factor DNA that goes into creation will now return back the way it was. But this time it will have Jesus' DNA infusing into it. So that's a millennium. And what he saw was not just for himself. It's for all you second generation. The millennium. And first generation, you also got some things to do. I saw what you have to do. You have to go to all the other planets in the universe. A lot of work. Everyone got their job. And then Uriel took me to heaven, and I was in the throne room, and told me that I will now see. See, he saw the earth before the fall, then the fall, saw the millennium. Now you see the new earth and the new heaven. But I was not allowed to go in yet. I will see from afar. So he stayed in a certain place. So he went into the cube, and he was brought through the cube to see. And I would see from afar like Moses looking at the promised land. It was strange because it seemed like I was there through my spirit body, but my spirit was standing in front of Uriel. It was what I call a projection of presence form. There is such a thing in heaven. I thought about it in my book about heaven. I thought about how you can project your presence form. And I might not mention in the book, I might mention the teaching from the book. I saw my spirit standing Uriel in front of the third cube, where I saw the two elders open, and the glory of the age to come came from. So this was a replay back on that part. I then was taken in consciousness, they call it, but I call it in presence form. It doesn't have the vocabulary to describe it. Presence form is like, let's say, you all know what a hologram is, correct? Now a hologram, you could project a person's image, and then you could talk to the person and see the person, correct? But in a hologram, you cannot feel the person. If you put your hand through the image, it will go through. Now, what happens if you can feel the image? We don't have the technology here. What happens if you can project the hologram and interact with the hologram so that the hologram can shake hands with you, but it's not the person, it's the hologram of the person that you can feel. That is what I call a presence form. That is like the person, but not the person. It's a projection of the person's consciousness. A presence form. And so he says that my consciousness, or I call it a presence form, was taken into the cube where the new heaven and new earth was. I then saw Jesus by me, and he took me to the throne room, different throne room. Actually it's same, but yet not same. It's multi-dimensional. To the throne room in the new heaven and new earth. It was like the same thing in pattern where the throne room was in the old, but the new was so much more. I then saw Jesus. He was on the throne, and the throne was like goldish color, but at the same time energy. Then I saw the Father, and he was on his throne, like in the old heavens, but this time they were both on the new earth too. I saw the Father, and it was like he wasn't restricted. Now, this is the difference. He wasn't restricted. Before, remember the Ancient of Days just sitting? Hardly move. New heaven is different. He can move. Because the earth can now take him. He has Jesus' DNA inside. And so that's what Aaron saw. I saw the Father, and it was like he wasn't restricted. If that was the expression I could use. I noticed the fabric of everything has Jesus in it. It is an increased capacity. It is very difficult to see. It was just light at first. I saw Jesus as a ball of light. For a while till my eyes got used to the light. And I could see him at a more normal level. It took me a while. So you can imagine he just saw the light for some time, and slowly his eyes got used. Which is why some of you, when you have visions, you give up. You saw some light. I cannot see, give up. You didn't remain there. You didn't let your eyes get adjusted and allow more things to happen, or just enjoy God's presence. So he says, I saw Jesus as a ball of light, and while my eyes got used to the light, I could see him more normally. It took me a while, and then I noticed both thrones on the right and the right side of the Father. And the amount of glory and energy can't be described. I know Jesus was shielding me by allowing me to see and experience at the same time. Then Jesus said to me, "Hi, Arion." I said, "Hi, Jesus." And Jesus continued, "I have taken you here to show you some things. And these things are important to all of you, which is why I bring this part up. What you will be doing the millennium with me and Pastor Johann, and what is going on here in the preparation of new heavens and new earth. I brought you to share what you will be doing in the millennium with me and Pastor Johann, and what is going on here in the preparation of new heaven, new earth." I said, "Thank you, this is amazing." As Arion said, "Thank you, this is amazing." Then Jesus said to me, "Arion, in the new heavens and new earth, the Father will be able to interact with His creation, with you, with everything, and it has been created so He can do this." Isn't that wonderful? Amen. When you go to new heaven, you can hug the Father. Amen. But that's why new heaven, new earth different. Now the old heaven, you go there, you go near also. You know, you try hugging the Ancient of Days. You can't even go near. So that's the big difference. And it says, "I then saw the Father came from the God dimension into a form about the size of Jesus, and came and walked with Jesus. I saw Jesus was in everything, so everything could interact with the Father. I then saw Jesus and the Father merge together and became one being for a while, as they walked and then separated into two different beings, Jesus and the Father." How cool is that? Then I saw Jesus and the Father, and then you, Pastor Johann, appear in the third cube, new heaven and new earth with us. But you were over in a group with Jesus and the Father, and you started talking, and you were writing all this down. Then the Father said to me, "Pastor Johann has been recording all this down. He is here and is helping us finalize or finish the preparations for the new heaven and the new earth. And also from the decisions made here will impact what happens in the millennium and the time before that, end times now." So the decisions, you see, God works backward. God works from the new heaven, the God dimension, to our realm. So the decisions that are made in the God dimension flows back to the millennium, flows back to now, which is why this is important now. And this confirms what Sam saw. When you remember the other part I read, he saw that I wrote the book of the millennium and the Lamb's Book of Life. I've been working with the Father from long ago. And on this earth, I'm like the Ancient of Days. And like talking to a very ancient spirit. And then now he says, Pastor Johann has been recording all these down. He's here and he's helping us finalize or finish the preparation for the new heaven and the new earth, and also from the decisions made here, there's new heaven, new earth, will impact what happens in the millennium and the time before that, the end times. It was like in this realm there was no time, but it impacted eternity and how time play out. You three were talking for a while. I was allowed to hear some things and others I was not. So I could hear some things that Aaron couldn't hear. So he saw three of us talking. And I heard a discussion about my part in those times. So Aaron was there with him. I didn't point lah, but since he was there. But I don't remember the details. It's like it blocked from my soul memory. Yeah, that's because Arian is part of the millennium we're talking about. Not for you to remember yet. There was so much discussed, timing, positions, on what people, and this part is important, I repeat it. Now it's important for you. There was so much discussed. Timing, positions on what people were deciding or qualified for based on their choices right now in these end times. I want you to know when you choose to be part of the end time, you're choosing your position in new heaven and new earth. Didn't I tell you that before? Now you got another witness. I said that the decisions you make now will determine your position in new heaven and new earth. Not old heaven, new earth. New heaven, new earth. And I'm not sort of making light of it, nor am I just talking out my imagination. I'm talking something very real. And I don't want any one of you to find out when it's too late. You must not find this out after you go new heaven, because too late. All positions given. Do you understand where you are qualified for new heaven and new earth? Now, even the simple positions you serve as ushers or all those, as long as you're part of the glorious church, the decisions you make qualify you for new heaven, new earth, your future. The tiny decision you make, the tiny sacrifice you make, even let's say, I'm going to be faithful to one meeting or this meeting or that meeting, that will impact who you are in new heaven, new earth. Such a small price to pay on earth, but a big loss in heaven if you didn't pay that price now. That's the message I'm trying to get across. And the sacrifices, when you think about from eternity, is very small. It's just like this 7-day fast or 8-day fast. You know, it's very easy. When Eddie was asking me, hey, is it exactly 7 days or 8 days? And here's the thing. Those of you who say, well, 7 days must be exact 7 days. Not even 1 minute more. Cross midnight, I go, well, you got your chicken steak all ready. All your meat. So the moment the midnight crossed, well, exactly 7 days. All this speaks a lot of who you are. Not just who you are now, who you will become in new heaven, new earth. Because everything that you do and are is recorded in heaven. So I think we might have a section where all movies are shown. And then you see yourself at the midnight hour. And that might be one of the comedies. Is it heaven comedies? And then you see yourself on earth at 12 midnight. You wonder, maybe it wouldn't be a comedy. Maybe that was a drama. Because when you see yourself, you're crying. You lost all your position. So change the comedy to drama. But what we're saying here, every little thing you do makes a difference. This short little life, this is your school and your university, your primary school, your college, your university, and your working environment, training you for new heaven and new earth. Imagine making small decisions can go so far. And so it says here, there was so much discussed, timing, positions, on what people were deciding and qualify for based on their choices right now in these end times. Their responses and decisions, good or bad, obedience or disobedience, impacted right through who was chosen for what in new heaven and earth. And before that, in the millennium. It was this long conversation, but this is all I remember, and was allowed to hear. Then the Father, after talking with you, Pastor Johann and Jesus, the Father looked at me and smiled and came to me. Then the Father came to me and said, "Hi, Aaron, I love you." I said, "Hi, Father, I love you." He gave me a hug and I was just so happy. The Father then stood in front of me and Jesus and came next to me. And then the Father said, "There is something inside you that you need healed. Let's fix that right now." So he reached inside me and grabbed at first what looked like my heart, pulled it out of me. He said, "See, there's some damage there that I didn't want, but I'm just going to heal you right now." And then he blew into my heart and it was no more. I noticed at first it was just my heart, but it was really my inner man. He first fixed my heart, then he said, "I'm going to put my love in you like I said I would." Then the Father said, "You will love like Jesus," and the Father blew into me, my inner man, and I saw the parts that were dark, messed up, healed. I was filled with the love of Jesus. And then the Father stepped back from me and held my inner man in his hand, and I saw myself in my spiritual DNA form with all this light. Then he took me apart, and you, Pastor Johann, and Jesus were standing next to him. And then the Father said, "Aaron, we are going to make changes to you. See, you are now going to see your creation." I then noticed there was no time. I saw myself like my spiritual DNA substance. Then the Father said, "The changes we are making here will impact the creation of you being made eternity," or something to that effect. He said, "Aaron, see, now we are taking you apart." And I saw myself turn into a ball of light. Like when I was torn about with a new glory hit me the other day. It was like this was the same event almost. Then the Father said, "I'm infusing Jesus into every part of you." I saw him taking sunlight from Jesus and put it all into a ball in the midst of light that was me. Then I came back together. Then he reached and took some of you, Pastor Johann, and some of your spiritual DNA, and said, "I'm taking some of Pastor John's DNA and putting it into you." Then the Father said, "I'm going to explain what's happening to you so you will understand. You and Pastor Johann will have the same song or tune coming out of him. I took what I put in him and put some of it in you, so you basically resonate at the same octave." Then I saw myself came back together, and I had a different light in my spiritual body. I saw a different light. And moving through my spiritual body. It looked like he also added some of himself to me, and there was a lot more happening, but I don't remember it all. Then the Father said, "This will help you to be able to handle the transfiguration that's going to happen to you in Pergamos. And you won't lose any of it." You know why? If something happens, you cannot absorb, you also lose it. Just like a lot of impartation, people come. But if people give you a lot of money, and you go hold in your pocket, all the money comes out, at the end of the day, you still got nothing. You must be able to retain. And so he needed a bit of my DNA to retain. Because my DNA has been developed over how many decades. And been working with God, and before that. And then the Father says, "Okay, you can go back now." I was taken back to my spiritual body. Now, Sam, you saw also in early vision about my DNA be taken, put into the 12. Remember that? Yes. So, that is what they see in the spiritual. Now, this is what happens. Some of you don't realize this, but when you agree with my teaching, and you accept the teaching and the explanation of God that I'm giving to you, that DNA is gone into you in this natural world. That is why those who don't accept, they can only reach to that level, and that's it. I'm not saying you have to take lock, stock, barrel. Always check everything with the Word. Ask me questions if you find it hard to accept. But I've always remained the same as when I started the ministry in 1976, and then 79 I launched into the ministry after the Baptist Seminary. And now, the same thing I say. If anything I said or preach is not in line with the Bible, correct me. But if you got no better explanation, and this is the best explanation that you have of the Bible, even if some are in between the line, the anti-spots where the Bible is silent, if you believe it, the DNA is into you. So that you can receive what is received. And it is true even in the natural. You can only go so far as the one who went before you. Sometimes it takes a long time. You have to relearn or reinvent the wheel, correct? You don't have to reinvent the car. You just have to copy how someone made a car. It took a long time. Do you know a car today has thousands of parts? The first car has less than a few hundred parts. How cars are developed? Because people keep adding on to it. You don't want to reinvent the car. You want to take what is there and build from there. Which is why even myself, I've absorbed teachings before me. I've absorbed all of Higgins' teaching, absorbed all of Watchman Nee's teaching, absorbed everything. I was like a sponge on the earth. Because when you come to the earth, you got to relearn everything. You are help from heaven, but you must relearn everything. And we stand on the shoulders of those before us. So it's important, and we're talking about this part, that we have come to the stage where God is going to do signs and wonders. And like Arian, as I say, the father told him, Pastor Johann, do first, then you do. It's happened first, then after you. Because that is the order of things. And like I said, how can you learn how to pray in tongues from someone who don't pray in tongues? How can you learn how to pray long hours from someone who don't pray long hours? If a man of God come to teach you who doesn't read the Bible, doesn't have the Bible, doesn't follow the Bible, doesn't fast, doesn't pray, doesn't spend time with God, doesn't worship, question, something is missing. Don't listen to men of God even when they have open vision or they can have all these, they say don't need to fast. You know why? Jesus fasted. If you learn from them, you will become like them. People who don't fast tell you no need to fast because they themselves don't know how to fast. You don't learn fasting from someone who has never fasted. And people who don't know how to worship, how can they teach you to worship God? People who don't pray in the Spirit long hours, how can they teach you? In the end, what a person can teach has to be practiced in their life first. Which is why I say, we are progressing. When we move into signs and wonders, we will teach you how signs and wonders. But you must be following. Those who drop out, too bad. And the thing is this, some things we will never take back. And I have my 17 rules and principles. Those are you in leadership. The most important rule is trust. And so here, the Father says, this is to help you handle the transfiguration. Because this will happen in Pergamos and you won't lose it. Your spiritual DNA is now changed and your body will come in line with it. Then the Father says, okay, you can go back now. And I was taken back to my spiritual body and back into the third cube where the new heavens and the new earth are, and then was merged back with myself in the spirit. Like my consciousness has a form, but now it came back to my spirit. And now I was changed because of what just happened. But when my consciousness came into my spirit, I began to tremble. Like something realigned my spirit, changed because my consciousness was changed. And then began to cry out, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. And say, you are so holy. I started to see my fabric, spiritual DNA, change from what the Father has. And so I started to feel this manifestation. I feel waves of energy. And somehow Jesus strengthened me enough so I could pay attention to what He was going to say to me next. Jesus says, you will now be working more closely with Uriel. He's going to be showing you things about the 7 thunders. He'll be showing more things. And I say, yes, Lord. Write down and absorb it. He says, yes, Lord. And then after that, he came back and he's writing. He stopped and then he got back into his body. That's at the end of the vision. Now, the part that I want you to remember is how your decisions, your life in this end time now will affect your position in new heaven and new earth, including what you're doing in the millennium. So let's, in this end time, move and understand your predestination. Leave your doubts behind and begin to go forward. And even more when we come to the day when we say, if you find it hard to believe, believe the works. Now I say, if you find it hard to believe, believe the works that are coming. Once they come, it reaches different level. I have to mention this again. Once it's come, the fence is gone. There's no more sitting on the fence. You're either in or out. So although it's a good thing for us, the signs and wonders coming, it's bad for those who like to sit on the fence. It's sad for those who will choose wrongly, because they will not have to answer the judgment. We have come to such a time of this, and we still got this window to pray before the signs and wonders come. And when the signs and wonders start coming, we enter the different phase where there's no more fence. There's no more chance to even doubt. And we still have this window. And in this window, pray and seek the Lord. And continue to pray through in God. Which is why tonight you still got 3 hours and 10 minutes to 6 a.m. And it's been long. In fact, now I broke all my records. I think this is the longest, right? For all my records. This is the longest, don't know how many part sermon this is. And, but it is only the first message, and it is an important message. It is the last revival preparation. And the subtopic is predestination. You are all predestined. And some of you are hearing this message even after it's broadcast, and after some time later, you're finding your place and position. I want to encourage those of you. The 30, some of you will begin to remember after tonight that meeting that we had in heaven. When the 30 of you were specially prayed for before you came down. And there are some of them are replaced now. And the 70s and the 120s. And there was a big grand meeting of the 10,000 pastors. And in fact, there are 10,000 angels or the COG angel. You were introduced, all you 10,000 pastors, you were introduced to your angel before you came here. Knowing this end time move, and the angels and spirit beings that you work with, God will work with you. Now on the Sunday series, we will teach on signs and wonders, and how that some people have signs and wonders, some don't, and the reasons why. We will explain why some people like Stephen, out of 7 deacons, 3 got signs and wonders. The other seems to be quiet. There is a reason for that. And we need to understand all those reasons as we move into this dispensation. But we are coming to a place where it's good things for us, exciting time for us. But I fear and tremble for those, when the signs and wonders come, they will be asked this. If you cannot believe the signs and wonders, and if they say any wrong thing about the signs and wonders, or about the message, the Archangel Shammah will go, shoo, because there will be no more second chance. That is last chance. So we are reaching the point where sometimes the person's first chance is their last chance. For some people who have been with us before and who have been in part of this move, that is really now their last chance. And their decision, they might regret for the rest of eternity. So let's begin to pray for mercy. Let's begin to pray that everyone who is predestined will make it. Will make it into this move of God. And that they will flow into the fullness of Him. Let's go to God in prayer. Let's all rise together and sing a worship song. And then we go